Hey everybody, welcome back to another little behind the scenes kind of diary thing that I've been putting together here for the Terra Arcanum RPG. Uh, this week went pretty well. I had to add a chapter that I completely forgot, dealing with playing the game through kind of narrative time and dealing with the role-playing aspect of a role-playing game. Seems kind of important. I got that chapter made up. I mean, in fairness, most of the chapters are uh, a kind of like beta outline. Nothing's finalized yet, obviously, but I like where everything is right now. What is it? The other big thing is I did finish all of the racial, the playable races. There are more or less done. I mean, obviously tweaks can be made or might be made as I continue on, but I feel confident in saying that they are more or less ready to be for for prime time. I've been working on classes. Uh, the thing is, ran into a little bit of an issue. Nothing major, but it is slowing the whole process down a little bit. In that the way I'm using XP and leveling is reminiscent of uh, Final Fantasy Flights or Final Fantasy Flights. Holy shit, Fantasy Flights. Uh, Warhammer 40K Dark Heresy back when they had the rights to the Warhammer franchise before GameWorks. I don't know if they pulled them from Final Fantasy or if they just when they decided to make them. I don't know what the story between GameWorks and Fantasy Flight is, but I know GameWorks now has 100% of the rights once again, as opposed to sharing them with Fantasy Flight or at least giving them permissions to make merchandise and stuff for them. But either way, I really loved Dark Heresies the way they used XP. And for those of you who don't know, um, the way that works is you'll be granted a sum of XP, usually at the end of missions or campaigns or whatever you want to call them. And how do I say this? You can get them other way. Usually it's granted at the end of missions and campaigns. Sometimes the GM's nice enough to grant you little bits of XP here and there for different events. Sometimes campaigns will ask you to dish out a certain amount of XP to players for completing certain tasks if they were like hidden objective type of tasks. But when you receive the XP, you don't just have XP and eventually you get to your next level D&D style when you get enough of it. You actually have to spend that XP, and once you have spent enough of that XP, then you can progress uh, to the next class. They didn't really have a leveling scheme. I mean, it was, but it wasn't like you were level 1 to 2, 3, 4, 5. There was their class system was broken down in a sort of chain. Like my personal favorite, the Psyker, which is to say a psychic. That's just what they called them there in Warhammer, is a psyker. If you aren't familiar, there was like I remember what the base class was called. I could look it up, but I'm not gonna bother. It's not worth it. But there's like a base class psyker, and you had to spend, I think it was like 1,000 XP in that base class psyker. There's a little like um, when you're going through the class uh what would you call it? The class like description. There we go. Let's go with that. The class description. There'd be a table that shows you all of the different abilities. I think they call them talents actually in Warhammer, but all the different talents that you're allowed to take while you're in that psyker class, and you can always go back and take them once you go up a rank, or I think that was what they call them as ranks. But you can go back and take older stuff if you're up a rank. It's just you couldn't take anything outside of that box. If you were a psyker, you couldn't take certain abilities that the arbiter might get, or the scum or the cleric might get. They everyone had their own unique little box, and there was a lot of crossover. There was basically what you could argue would be called generic talents that everyone had access to. But there's also several that were unique, and probably isn't the right word. Most of the vast majority of everything was talents. It was just they had something like 150 to 160 talents, and each class would have access to probably 20, we'll say, ish, 20, 25 they'd have access to in each rank. And the higher the ranks, the better the talents would you'd have access to, obviously. Um, but I really like that system, that is the point. So I wanted to do something similar to that. Uh, Thing is that as I've been working on that, I realized that the way I've devised my system right now, and I'm trying to be a little more, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, I don't want to say inclusive because that's not really not the right word, but it's similar to inclusive. Just let's just go with inclusive so we can kind of move on here. That's probably not the right word. It's not the word I want to use, but we're gonna use inclusive for now. But I want to be a little more inclusive with all the classes. So like, meaning that certain classes aren't restricted from taking certain skills. Like if you are a in the warrior class, we'll say you can still take points in the arcana skill. There's reasons to do that. Even it does help, not necessarily a lot, but maybe it helps the group. It doesn't. Okay, maybe I should phrase it as you don't necessarily help the warrior, but you help the group if no one else has it. Like maybe you want to be a adept, is what I'm using for now. All names are subject to change, but the adept class, which is kind of it's kind of the healer class, quote unquote. One of the branches it can go into is healing focused, but by itself, it's not necessarily a healing class. There's other ways to heal besides just this class. I mean, even mages can heal and such, but it's kind of the quote unquote healer class. But yeah, like maybe you want that one. Maybe you want to have I don't know, you want to have the operate skill, which lets you drive and operate heavy machinery, or to determine how to operate, heavy machinery, boats, flying vehicles, such like that. Even if your group has a techie, which is generally more designed for tech-based interaction and things like machinery, doesn't mean you can't do that also. Or maybe your group doesn't have a techie and someone needs to take something like operate. So I guess I'm trying to get everyone to be able to take whatever skills they want to build their character, even if you're in a class, to not necessarily be restricted specifically to tropes and cliches within that class. There are tropes and cliches within the classes, I'm not going to deny. Some of them ripped directly from other role-playing games, such as D&D. I added the warrior has a special power strike ability. At least that's, again, names are subject to change, but that's what you get. That's their kind of special ability. The sneak has a what did I didn't call it hidden. I didn't call it sneak attack, but they've got a similar function to D&D sneak attack. Not quite the same. It works a little bit differently. I tried to, like I said, I tried to tweak everything to fit more, to be a little bit more unique. But there's a lot I adapted from other role playing games to, or maybe just better way to say it is was inspired by from other role playing games. But so yeah, there are cliches and tropes within the classes, but I wanted them to also be a little bit more open ended. That's a great way to say it. How come I couldn't think of that before? But that was going to kind of be the thing, is let everyone kind of do whatever they wanted. Anyways, the point is taking a little longer than I thought to get the classes done because, well, I don't have 160 talents like Dark Heresy has, and Dark Heresy, I should note, even their talents, a lot of them are kind of repetitive. For example, their skill block, which is another thing I took inspiration from. If you Their skills all had 3 ranks. There was untrained, which you just, you couldn't, for the most part, you couldn't use that skill if you were untrained. There were a few exceptions that you could use if you weren't trained in them, but a lot of them required you to have training in them. So you could take a talent that would give you training in it, and then in a later rank, you'd have access to the +10 version of that talent, provided you had taken training, and then a +20 version of that talent, again, assuming you'd taken the +10 and the basic training of it. Uh, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to be more inclusive. So instead of having, I don't know how many skills Dark Heresy had. Let's just say like 18. They had quite a few, like 18 to 20 skills. So instead of having three ranks of all those skills that are just spread out across the different ranks that you'd go through, I just have a generic, talent, so to speak, that just says, "Hey, get training or a bonus to whatever skill you want for this amount of XP." It just has a price tag on it. So as a result, the blocks, the stat blocks, the talent blocks, whatever you want to call them, they're looking a little thin right now, which I'm not opposed to. Uh, I know going into a beta, nothing's going to be finalized, and everything's going to be a little underwritten and underperforming, and you're going to get more ideas as you go through playtesting and such. But uh, I want everyone to have to spend about. I'm using XP in systems of increments of one because I hate excremental zeros. Why? It's like Yu-Gi-Oh. Um, why say something has 3,000 attack power when two of those zeros are completely useless? Just take two zeros off and it has 30 attack power, and the thing that used to have 100 attack power now has one. Like the number looks is big, but it doesn't mean anything. It just is meant to impress small little children. And I'm not trying to impress little children with my game, so my XP system's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and every 10 XP that you spend allows you to unlock new classes, or not even necessarily 10. Some actually only require 5 XP to unlock certain classes. And I even made certain multi classes. I'm trying to get a few more, but not all the multi classes are there yet. So I do want to have. I'm trying to have a lot of fun with this. I'm trying to keep it, like I said, a little more open ended for the players. So it might take a little longer than I anticipated, but I am having fun, which is the important part, even if it is going to take a little longer. Uh, Anything else? Oh yeah, I delved a little bit deeper into the magic chapter, like I had been meaning to. At this point, I'm very happy with where it's at. The only thing that needs to be done now is I need to make up the spell list, which I actually have an Excel file that I started on. I haven't done much work onto that because I got really into the character classes. I was having a lot of fun with that, but I need to go back at some point and fill out the spell list as well, bring the Excel file into Microsoft Word and all that. Everything's working really well. I feel like I did a lot this week, even if it doesn't. Well, I think I did a lot this week, even if it doesn't feel like I have, because I've been basically looking at the same. I wrote like a chapter and then bounced back and forth between some other Word documents, adding bits and pieces, moving stuff around. And other than that, just been staring at the one Excel file as I keep adding more abilities to it. So it feels like I haven't done much, but or I shouldn't say it feels. It looks like it to me that I haven't done much, but I like to think that I've done a lot. So I'm feeling confident with what I got done this week. Is basically what I'm trying to say. And next week or this week, however you want to say it, but next week, I guess, because I'm calling this week. So next week, I'm really hoping I want to say finish. At the rate I'm going, I don't think I'm going to finish, but I would like to finish the abilities or the talents or the feats or whatever you want to call them, but get the class list done and put together. Hopefully, then I'll have a little bit more to share, and I'll be able to put something over these videos that's not just gameplay footage of a whatever random game I happen to decide to play a little bit of and record some footage of to slap on top of this video. Be able to show you some of the Microsoft Word docs that I've been working on and such, but again, at the moment, not quite ready to reveal any of that. So, I think that's about all for now. Uh, I don't have anything that you can go support right now in terms of seeing more about this RPG or anything. So if you do want to support anything, just I guess go buy my book. That's about all you. That's what I'd rather you support. I'd rather you support me by buying my book than just donating money through a Patreon anyway. So yeah, buy my book, Terra Arcanum, Dragon Knight's the first one. Beyond the Mithril Gates is it should be out shortly. I'm working right now with an editor, and I am actually in the market here. I'm trying to see if I can't maybe get myself an agent and start doing writing a little bit more professionally than I am right now. So Don't know when Mythical Greats will be out, but I'm hoping it'll be by the end of this year. Should be, no matter what the situation. It should be by the end of this year, but don't hold me to that. And yeah, thanks for watching. This is Reown the Rojko, signing off.